It's a pleasure and privilege to be with you all this morning. My name is Nayab. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm a senior Morehead-Cain scholar. So when I was thinking about what I should potentially chat about this morning, I thought about the meaning of this weekend and of this forum. So we know it's called 7, and we know it's sponsored by some organization called the Morehead-Cain Foundation, which, as trite as it might sound, sort of got me thinking, what is the Morehead-Cain experience, and what is 7? To each of us, the Morehead-Cain experience, Shirley, and UNC have meant entirely different things. Today, I thought I'd talk about what the Morehead-Cain experience has meant for me during my now 4 years here. So if you'll entertain me, let's go on a super quick 6-minute journey down my Morehead-Cain experience my past 4 years here. So 4 years ago, I came to UNC and to the Morehead-Cain experience, regrettably quite reluctantly and quite hesitatingly, which is probably the part of the speech that I should have gotten checked by Chuck and Megan. But I had just taken a year off. I had a gap year. And I graduated from boarding school in Massachusetts in the year of our friend, the Great Recession. In Jordan, I worked at this boarding school to basically help develop the community service department there, establishing partnerships between the school and various community/social development organizations. That was my day job. My afternoon job was coaching high school girls volleyball and basketball, which was shocking because I was 19 and they were 14. And then I also sort of just got the ability to travel around the Middle East a lot, which is great. So my gap year was a tough year to follow. It's a tough act to follow, which in hindsight, I guess, I realized was sort of the reason as to why I was super reluctant and kind of very hesitant to come to UNC, which is a massive shame. So we've gone to 2008. Let's flash forward to August of 2009. And I've come to UNC, and like every other precocious Morehead-Cain scholar, I'm sitting front row center of my 400-person lecture class. So this is an Econ 101 class. I'm sitting front row, and I'm quite angrily earning 15% of my grade by answering questions on a clicker. I don't know if all of you are aware of this, but regrettably, a lot of professors think it's awesome, but it's like a remote control. It's kind of like a game show. So 15% of my grade, I'm answering questions / guessing questions on this clicker. That's inside classes. Outside of classes, people kept thinking we were related, which was very bizarre. I kept getting asked if we were cousins or if we shared an Uncle Mott, and I could assure them that no one in my family was named Mott. It's just not a Pakistani name. So things just weren't working inside the classroom nor outside. So let's flash forward to 4 years later, to now. And I look back at this mental image that I have of me sitting in my Econ 101 class, just absolutely livid that 15% of my grades from a clicker. And I just can't help but giggle. And so why would I hypothetically be giggling if I weren't speaking right now? Because as much as I didn't realize it at the time, I was staring in the face of the biggest gift and one of the biggest and most important lessons in life, and all I could think about was clickers and how much I profoundly despise clickers. I stand here now and I'm keenly aware of the fact that, at least for me, when I sort of boil down my Morehead-Cain experience and I get rid of all the water, what's left in the dregs of everything is sort of the realization of how to live. Dramatic, I know, but if you will, let me explain. For me, what I've learned the most in these past 4 years has not been in the classroom, in my extracurricular activities, or during my summer experiences as I literally am running up and down mountains with a 50-pound backpack on, or as I'm working in Rwanda on an econ development project, or as I'm on the trading floors of an incredible investment bank learning about financial markets. Rather, it's been over dinner or coffee or tea in my house, your house, or in some restaurant on Franklin Street. And so this is where English major Nayab will come out, and this is sort of where it gets a little poetic. But I read this poem my senior year of high school. It's called The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot, it's an incredible poem if you haven't read it. There was a part of the poem which I absolutely loved and found gloriously beautiful, but I couldn't really quite understand it. And I'll sort of trim it down right now and take a few liberties with Eliot so you get my point. But in it, Eliot writes, "And indeed there will be time, and time for all the works and days of hands, that lift and drop a question on your plate, time for you, and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and time for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea." I didn't understand it when I was 17, but something about the way his words sounded to my ears was absolutely arresting. I recently reread those very same lines and realized that my past 4 years here at UNC have imbued those lines with a meaning that they didn't really have before. During my past 4 years here at UNC, I've seen us all, and we've all run after our own dreams, sometimes running away from them. And watching that has been an absolute privilege, and watching that has also presented the biggest lesson for me. Among my friends and those in the Morehead-Cain family, what is unifying is not just the pursuit, but rather sort of, dare I say, the graceful pursuit. I live with a couple of Moreheads who will hate me and never be friends with me ever again if I say their names, but Brendan York, Leah Downey, and Libby Redenbaugh. And from them and from everyone else in this community, I've learned how to live when pursuing, how to be disciplined about striving, how to balance dreams and desires with making meaning, how to create meaning where it might be hard to find meaning, how to take care of others, of our families, of ourselves when we're running. And I'd like to highlight that by saying that my biggest lesson has been learning how to live is not at all to be sort of diminutive of like the formal education that I've received or sort of my summer experiences. Rather, I mean, I consider those sort of like the giants in my life. Obviously, the formal education, the summer experiences, they're the giants in my life. But on top of the shoulders of those giants would be sort of like the realization of like properly how to be and how to live and how to be happy. And this is something that's hopefully not going to vanish out of my brain shortly after a midterm exam or a final exam. Rather, I think that realization is something that's going to stay with me. And so this balance and sort of incredibly, I think, salutary realization of how to live is something that I can uniquely and definitively attribute to the Morehead-Cain experience, to the privilege of being a scholar and of being surrounded by people like you. Because everyone here manifests a discipline and his or her respective passion in a way that is not universal. And while living with you, while studying with you, while working with you, while simply emailing you, I've learned how to balance my time. It's taught me how to study, how to analyze, how to interview, how to ask for what I want, how to present myself, how to make time for things that matter, how to do a myriad of other things, how to be okay with indecision, and how to make decisions, and then most importantly, how to make sure that there's always time to sit down and have some toast with my tea. Again, as Eliot says, there will be time for all the works and days of hands, time for you and time for me, time yet for 100 indecisions and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. And on that, I'll end with my favorite phrase, which is inshallah, or God willing. Thank you very much.